Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. The family of Harvey Wheelgoose say they should be metal detectors in schools to protect young people. The 15-year-old was fatally stabbed last week.
Knife archers, as soon as starting secondary schools. If one school, and they're all academies now, if one school puts it in, let everybody follow by example.
They're now asking to meet the Home Secretary. Also tonight, 500 cafes and restaurants have shut their doors for good as businesses battle against rising costs.
I'm at York Minster for a light show celebrating the city's wildlife heritage. It features camels and bears. Why? All will be revealed.
Welcome to Knaresborough, Rebel. How are you enjoying your time in Yorkshire? A Christmas film brings Hollywood to Harrogate. Well, Knaresborough anyway. Rebel Wilson is among the stars in town.
And it's been another day of unrelenting gloom. When will it all end? Well, join me for the detailed forecast and I'll tell you.
Hello there, it's good to have your company on this Wednesday evening. First on the programme, the parents of Harvey Wheelgoose, who died after being stabbed at school, have met with the Chief Executive of Sheffield City Council and the Mayor of South Yorkshire today. Harvey died just over a week ago, and since then his family have spoken out about wanting to see swift action to keep pupils safe, including installing knife archers in all schools. Now, South Yorkshire is one of the worst places in the country when it comes to knife crime. Last year, there were just under 1,500 serious offences involving a knife recorded by South Yorkshire Police. And in 2024, 5 people in the county lost their lives as a result of being stabbed. Well, the police say boys under 18 are the most common group to be caught carrying a knife. Abby Giola has been speaking to Harvey Wheelgoose's parents, and she has tonight's top story.
This is how Harvey's parents want him to be remembered. A lad who loved fun and was loved by many. It's only 10 days since they lost him and they've thrown themselves into campaigning against knife crime. Today they met with Sheffield City Council and the South Yorkshire Mayor to ask for action.
I think it was really positive. I think we got this point across, and they agreed. They were parents and grandparents themselves, the councillors that we spoke to, and they're going to do everything in their power to try and help us, to try and stop this from happening to anybody else.
Hundreds of people turned out to join them on an anti-knife crime march through Sheffield city centre at the weekend. The family want to see security in all schools improved as a matter of urgency, with metal detecting knife archers a priority.
Nobody should be going through what we're going through. I don't want anybody to go through this. Schools need to be safe. I know it goes a lot deeper than that, but that's where it's got to start.
The knife archers, that's what we're pushing for. Just want kids to be safe.
The Department for Education told us schools are responsible for setting their own security measures, and we support them to develop robust safeguarding frameworks to respond to security incidents, including use of metal detectors if appropriate. As part of our plan for change, we are committed to turning the tide on poor behaviour and will continue working with schools, local authorities and the police.
I carry it because they expect me to.
Last month, South Yorkshire Police launched their latest Knives Take Lives campaign with this video. But not everyone is convinced that schemes like this are making a difference. Ronnie runs Aspire Boxing Club and has worked with young people in Sheffield for more than 2 decades.
I'd rather see the money they take for campaigns to feed into community groups like this, who are working with young people, and help those out, rather than spending money on campaigns which I don't think work.
Harvey's family just want to stop anyone else suffering the same loss and want authorities to help them find swift solutions to keep young people safe. Abby Giola, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
So incredibly strong of the family to be talking to us. Well, earlier I spoke to Oliver Coppard, the Mayor of South Yorkshire, who also met with Harvey's family this morning. I began by asking him how that meeting went.
We'll do whatever we can to make sure that young people, children are kept safe right across South Yorkshire. The incident we saw last week was tragic, but thankfully incredibly rare. I spoke this morning to Harvey's parents about what they want to see in terms of changes, and we'll work with them from here on. They also said they want to meet the Home Secretary and have that conversation with her, and I'm happy to facilitate that meeting as well.
The government has told us that they would support metal detectors, but it's down to each school to sort out their own security. As Mayor, would you like to see it in South Yorkshire, and would you fund it?
Well, look, I don't want to see schools as fortresses. Kids have to be safe in all of our schools. Of course, that is the primary concern. And the vast majority of young people are safe in South Yorkshire schools every single day. But we'll do everything we need to do to make sure that remains the case.
An anti-knife campaign launched last month, Oliver, a comic book style campaign. But those who work with these young people say that you need to invest in community groups, not campaigns. You need to get out there and talk to young people about why they're carrying knives.
Yeah, and I think that's right. Absolutely. Young people particularly have to be part of this conversation about how to stop knife crime. It's young people, most of all, who I think feel most vulnerable and are most at risk.
So why waste money on campaigns?
Well, it can't be either or. So it needs to be campaigns. It also needs to be conversations with young people. It also needs to be funding for youth groups. It needs to be more security in schools, potentially. It needs to be all of that and more. This is a whole societal issue. This isn't just about policing. Indeed, this isn't just about schools. This is about all of us coming together to say we are not prepared to live in a world in South Yorkshire where knife crime happens in this way or any other way.
Your office invests in violence reduction units. Last year, 17 projects received around £17,000. Is that enough to see long-term change? That won't even cover one person's wage, will it?
Well, quite honestly, there's never enough money in this space. I would like to see more money going into those sorts of projects and more projects besides. I think that's absolutely right. The horrible incident, tragic incident that we saw last week is frankly one of those things that makes you reflect on just what more we still have to do. And knife crime ruins lives, absolutely. Seeing the looks on Harvey's family's face today just brings that home as if it were needed. So look, we can never do enough in this space, and we'll continue to try and find more money to put into those sorts of projects and more.
Oliver Coppard, thank you. Let's move on now to our hospitality industry, which is still struggling in the wake of the cost of living crisis. Figures show nearly 500 pubs and restaurants and cafes have closed across Yorkshire between 2022 and 2024. And there are fears that this year will prove to be equally as tough. Customers are having to pay more for their meals and pints, but businesses are still struggling. Here's our business correspondent, Spencer Stokes.
It's a Monday lunchtime, but the blinds are closed at the Hillsborough Tap in Sheffield, and they won't be raised again until Wednesday. This business has taken the decision that it's not worth opening to customers on the first 2 days of the week. Beer sales have risen, but there's less profit in a pint.
Year on year, we are 56 barrels up on last year. Sales are going up, but the bottom line is ever decreasing. So how busy do you need to be to actually turn a profit?
Cost pressures come from different directions. For this Harrogate bar, energy price rises have been particularly noticeable.
3 years ago we were paying £1,261 for a month. This year that's almost doubled to £2,260 for a similar month. In April comes the minimum wage going up again, plus this time with quite a significant increase in the national insurance as well.
Will those rising costs be passed on to customers in pubs and restaurants? UK Hospitality say they don't think so.
My sense is that most of us has reached the edge of our ability to absorb more prices. I don't think any of us feel that we can pay more for a burger or a roast dinner. So restaurants are having to absorb cost increases themselves. And of course, that means margins go down. It puts a squeeze on salaries. It puts a squeeze on the ability of the sector to grow.
Back in Sheffield, there's evidence drinkers here have been tightening their belts, particularly at the end of December. Christmas here was busy, but some customers using credit cards to pay. That figure 20% up on the year before. A sign perhaps that they were delaying the financial pain of a festive night out. Some of those bills are still to be paid. Cost pressures for both the public and publicans in 2025. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom now. A man has been arrested on suspicion of firearms offences following a standoff with armed police in Sheffield that lasted for 36 hours. The incident started around 7 p.m. on Monday night and a large-scale operation focused on the Park Square area of the city. Residents were evacuated from the apartment building and have this afternoon returned home. A 47-year-old man remains in custody. A West Yorkshire MP held a debate this morning on the removal of the winter fuel allowance. Normanton and Hemsworth MP John Trickett was the only Labour MP to vote against his party's decision to remove the allowance back in September. Today in Westminster, Mr Trickett read out comments from constituents who were struggling to live in their coal properties and talked about why he was so passionate about the subject. Doncaster Council has approved £10 million for expenditure to reopen Doncaster Sheffield Airport. Yesterday, the South Yorkshire Mayor Office approved a separate £10 million of funding to push forward plans to remove the site in spring next year. The business case says 5,000 jobs could be created by 2050. And let's keep a little bit on this subject actually, because it's 10 years since devolution came to Yorkshire and we started getting mayors. South Yorkshire was one of the first places to get one and soon pretty much everywhere will have a mayor. But has the idea worked so far and what has it actually done for us? Our political editor James Vinson is around here somewhere.
Look, we know that local government can be a little bit boring, a little bit dry, a little bit behind the scenes and out of the spotlight. But since we've had mayors, well, they've kind of become headliners. They're a growing band and they're on tour. You can see they started in Greater Manchester here, South Yorkshire in 2018, other places later this year. But has devolution as an idea worked? More on that in a second, but let's just remind ourselves of exactly what devolution is and why it's on tour.
Devolution. Devolution.
Devolution.
Devolution.
Yeah, it's coming for you. Devolution. Yeah, devolution's on the road. South and West Yorkshire have had a mayor for a while. North Yorkshire since last year. The idea has always been that decisions for up here are made up here, rather than in London. Education, skills, housing and regeneration, all powers that mayors have, but they really like transport. They've already got their hands on the buses in West Yorkshire and the trams in South Yorkshire. South Yorkshire got a mayor in 2017, West Yorkshire got theirs in 2021. North Yorkshire joined the party last year. South Yorkshire's deal's worth at least £900 million, West Yorkshire's over £1 billion, and North Yorkshire £540 million. The Devo tour continues. Hull and Lincolnshire will be getting a mayor later this year. Yep, so get your tickets here for that tour. It's really important that we work out whether mayors are doing a good enough job. They've been around for about 10 years or so. We've got mayors in Yorkshire, of course, Tracy Brabin, Oliver Coppard being on the programme already, and David Skaith in North Yorkshire. But does having a mayor make a difference to anybody? What changes have we seen? One of the big ones is transport. At least two of our mayors want to and have brought buses and trams back into public control. They're recognisable. More people in West Yorkshire could name their mayor than could name their MP. It's slightly lower in South Yorkshire, though. And the basic principle of that recognisability is that they can be held to account by voters. If people don't like them, they can vote them out next time. Having mayors was a Conservative idea. Now we've got a Labour government. So I spoke to Chancellor Rachel Reeves about devolution this week. Her view was that mayors are good because they can tell her exactly what she should be doing.
They know their areas and they know the priorities. So when I speak about Doncaster Airport, that's because Oliver Coppard has told me how important it is for South Yorkshire.
One of the things that's different is that Devolution's moving from big cities and Leeds and Sheffield to more rural areas. The Mayor of North Yorkshire's told us he thinks that's a good thing because it can help the countryside and places near the seaside.
Rural areas, rural communities, coastal areas have been ignored forever. So much growth has always been determined by a city centre. You see where big investment has gone, places like Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, London, you know, those big conurbations where lots of people, but we have a huge amount of people in this region who don't live in those cities.
Yeah, we've been dealing with devolution for a decade, and Amy, I speak to loads of people about devolution because I'm really cool and interesting, and they tell me basically that there's not a great deal of research being done about how effective it is. Mayors love it and they think it's a great idea, but the government needs to do a bit more work to work out whether it's improving people's lives or not.
James, thank you. I suddenly feel very underdressed and very uncool. Maybe I should become a mayor. Thank you. Now, every year, more than 1.5 million people take their driving test. I'm sure you can remember when you passed yours. 22 I was, third time lucky. Most people, though, are aged 17 or 18. But a woman in York has just got her licence, age 74. Good on her. Linda Ning first learned to drive as a youngster in a Ford Angelina in 1970s, but she never got round to taking a test. Olivia Richwald has been out for a spin.
Hi, my name's Linda, I'm 74 and I've just passed my driving test, so let's go for a ride.
So Linda, what made you start learning to drive at the age of 74?
Well, we had been living in London for many years and so actually you never really needed to have a car in London because the public transport is brilliant there. But then we decided to move back up north. There was one particular day and it was driving wind and rain. I was dragging the shopping trolley full of shopping and I thought, enough, this is ridiculous. One of us needs to be able to drive. I'd wanted to be behind the wheel for ages. Whenever I was in a car, I was always mentally driving it.
So you booked a lesson with Nuri. What was it like when you first met Nuri? Because to start with, you only booked one lesson just in case, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. When I first met her, do you know, I knew straight away that we were going to get on.
Oh, my sweet. Yes, thank you. I miss you. Good. At the beginning, she was a bit nervous, but when I met her, I was actually impressed by her story. Her determination and desire to drive encouraged me as a teacher.
How did you feel when the instructor said, Linda, you've passed?
Because there was a bit of histrionics going on. He said, could you call your instructor into the car, please? And I'll read out the result. And he looked so serious. So Nuri got in and said, right, I'm going to give you the result now. I'm pleased to say you've passed. And we just cheered. We were just so happy.
I was so proud for Linda and I felt so happy myself because I helped someone to make their dream come true.
What would you say to anyone else who's at your age and has never driven before?
Well, I'd say, look, it's possible. Sorry. Can he get past or do I have to go into help?
You're fine, you're doing a brilliant job.
Great job, Linda, and well done on you. York Minster. It's a spectacular building, isn't it? Absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't need any dressing up, but for the rest of this month, a light show will be projected onto the main entrance featuring images of the city's wildlife heritage. Now, there is a story behind every animal, each one linked to York in some sort of way, and the fun is finding out how. Heidi Tomlinson is there for us now. What a treat, Heidi.
Isn't it just? It looks absolutely spectacular. I mean, York Minster is the ultimate backdrop for a light show, and this year's display, as you said, focuses on the animals and the birds and the wildlife heritage that we've seen over in York over the last few years. You might expect to see some ducks, which there are, to display the sort of the riverbanks around here. You might expect to see peacocks that used to roam around the museum gardens, but what you wouldn't be imagining would be camels and bears. So why are they here? Well, Carl Alsop from York Beard is here. Just explain to me the connection between York and a bear, Carl.
Yeah, I love that you picked out the bear as well, because of course we've got things like tansy beetles and things that people would expect. But yeah, the bear's in the north section because it kind of fits with that lightning section. But the reason we've actually put it in is that at the turn of the century, there used to be a menagerie at the museum gardens, and it had a monkey and a bear and a golden eagle. But the story goes that the bear escaped from its cage on more than one occasion and actually chased the curator around the garden, so they had to ship it off to London Zoo, so we had to include that.
That's crazy, you can't imagine it, can you?
Yeah.
But just looking at the South Transept now, it looks absolutely stunning. What goes into making a show like this? Because they've taken into account all the architecture.
So the guys from Double Take Projections do an incredible job at mapping this. We've been talking about it for 12 months since the last one at the Art Gallery where they had to map that. We've really been talking about it for the last kind of 3 months where we've just been saying to them, more animals please, and yeah, they've obliged, and it's been a real pleasure to work together on looking at York's different elements of history, this totally different angle of wildlife, bringing it all together and putting it together into a 10-minute show.
What can we see now? What's going on now?
So we've just started again actually, so this is kind of the beginning, so we are just really setting the scene that this is all about green, and I think any minute now we're going to see yew trees, because actually before Roman settlement or anything, York, Iberacum as it was called, was just yew trees. That's literally how it translated in Latin to place of the yew trees, and then from there we're going to go forward in time through all those different periods and show you the animals that made it.
And people can find out all this commentary from your website, can't they, York Bid? Well, anyone can come and see this over the next 2.5 weeks from 6 till 9. You can watch it through as many times as you want. There's no need to book or get a ticket. Just come and enjoy the free entertainment.
Do you know what, Heidi? I will. I'll be there with the kids next week, and we just about got the end of it there, didn't we? Now, you may have heard that something very exciting is happening in Knaresborough. Hollywood has descended on the market town for the filming of a Christmas movie starring Kiefer Sutherland, Rebel Wilson and Danny Dyer's also been spotted. Now, obviously, I don't care about celebrities. I just happened to be in Knaresborough this morning. It's not the first time that Hollywood has come to Yorkshire. We've had Tom Cruise, Drew Barrymore, Samuel Jackson, even Robert De Niro. I have missed them all. So today I am in Knaresborough for some celeb spotting, and I hear here Green Dragon Yard is where it was all happening last night.
So last night we had Rebel Wilson and Danny Dyer here. So they used this scene in front of Knitting Pretty.
And not only that, they've been in your kitchen.
Yeah, we had, unfortunately not the celebrities in my kitchen, but they did a scene from the kitchen window. A couple of actors were in there shooting from that. And then, yep, into the yard. And they used the holiday let next door as the green room, so that's very exciting for them as well.
Well, we've had celebrities, Danny Dyer, Rebel Wilson, Kiefer Sutherland, all sort of like doing their thing outside the shop. Everyone who comes in has mentioned it pretty much.
I went to the filming around Castlegate, and he came over to me and said hi, which was amazing.
You're all weak at the knees.
I know, all giddy.
The castle grounds have been turned into a beautiful Christmas market, and my secret sources tell me that Kiefer Sutherland and Rebel Wilson are here. So I might just hang around for a little bit. So we waited and waited and waited until finally a glimpse of an A-lister. Rebel Wilson, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Knaresborough, Rebel. How are you enjoying your time in Yorkshire?
Loving it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the accent as well, so I'm practicing. Yeah, every day.
It's a good one. Yes, tick.
Cast job there.
We got her. That was worth getting pneumonia for. Oh, the excitement in Knaresborough. It's bitter there as well. I didn't have my thermals on, which I'm now regretting.
She's really funny, isn't she?
Very funny.
Yeah,
almost as funny as you,
It was
Paul.
never that exciting when I lived there, Amy. Anyway, look, this is exciting. A few spring flowers. I did ask if you could cheer us up this evening. Well, we've got that from Gary in York, and the next picture is an azalea, I'm told, in Wentworth near Rotherham. So that's quite something. I don't know why that's out at this time of the year, but it is. So keep the pictures coming in on X, on Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. So the headline is depressingly consistent. cloudy, mostly dry, although we could see some drizzle at times and certainly a chilly easterly breeze. And the Atlantic just cannot break this cold block down. Current projections suggest we'll be back in the milder air maybe by the middle of next week, but until then it stays chilly with an awful lot of cloud around at times. So the satellite picture confirms what we've seen in the sky. Extensive cloud. The North Sea is completely full of it, and that's where the wind is blowing from. So overnight there might be 1 or 2 breaks. If so, there could be a touch of ground frost, but most of us will be frost-free, cloudy. A bit of drizzle at times, with generally lowest temperatures around 2 degrees. But this is a hint, if we do get any breaks, just a touch of frost is possible, mainly across the Pennines. Tomorrow's high water times 4:45 in Scarborough, Bridlington, 9 minutes past 5. So another mostly cloudy day, a bit of drizzle is possible. Otherwise, most places will be dry. A hint of 1 or 2 cloud breaks. There might be a bit of brightness in places. Otherwise, it's fine. A chilly easterly wind with highs struggling up to 5 degrees Celsius. That's the forecast.
How's it looking in Knaresborough tomorrow?
Cold.
Just ask if my new BFF, Rebel Wilson, you
Lovely.
know.
Yeah.
Get your thermals on, Rebel. I'll be here for the late news tonight at 10:30. Hope you'll join me. Bye-bye.